Oh, hey, Steve.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Well, what's wrong, buddy?
Well, I just got this new water bottle, but it just looks so plain.
Well, have I got the store for you. Introducing the Wild Edible World Podcast Merch Store.
Wowie wow!
It's the merch store where you can get all of your favorite podcasts merch for all your decorating purposes.
How do I find that?
Go to wildedibleworldpod.shopify.com or go to any of our Instagram and media accounts and view the link in the bio.
Wowie wow!
Welcome to another thrilling episode of the Wild Edible World Podcast. Another fantastic one in the books for you guys today. I'm just one of your hosts, Michael.
And I am Steve. Oregon is in the house.
Yeah, we've we've been existing on the West Coast tonight.
Yeah,
and
heck yeah.
to bring us further into that and further into the brine, we've got Lorelle from Oregon on the show. She is a forest ecologist and a professional forager out in Oregon. You can find her online at Lorelle Morel. And thank you so much, Lorelle, for joining us.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Welcome to the West Coast.
Oh, gosh. It's so good to be here. It is...
Wow, look at those trees.
Look at the mountains.
Oh, yes, there's the ocean. You can smell it.
Oh, yes, I can. I very much can.
That sweet salt air.
Sweet salt. But yeah, so Lorelle, I've known you for, I guess we met last year at the Midwest Wild Harvest Festival, but we've been following each other for a little bit longer than that, and you've always really inspired me with a lot of the, the thoroughness of the education that you provide for free, like on platforms like Instagram, not to mention the absolute beauty of the just your skill in photography. Honestly, you take wonderful photos, you create beautiful plates and beautiful food. So I just really respect and admire you, and I'm really happy to talk to you today a little bit about you as a forager, and we kind of want to get into seaweed too, because I don't know nothing about seaweed.
Yeah, teach us. We don't got any seas around these parts.
Yeah, I'm stoked to talk to you too about seaweed. And I know we mentioned this a little bit ago, Michael, but I think it'd be great to have the whole foraging community come out here and do a little seaweed taste testing in person someday.
Oh my gosh.
I will pack a bag right now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We're considering this an official invite, okay?
100%. You're always welcome.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll hold you to that. So how long can you say you think you've been foraging? Is it something that was in your family that you've been doing your whole life, or what?
Yeah, so I grew up in Appalachia, southwestern Pennsylvania, close to West Virginia, and foraging for morels was kind of just the culture, a part of the culture there. Morels and ramps, which are both coming up right now. And so it's always been in the background of my life, but I would say I didn't really get like super into it and didn't take a deep dive into it until college. When I met a naturalist, I was at the University of Vermont in Burlington, Vermont, and I attended some of his classes and ended up like becoming his little protege. And that was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. So yeah, it's always been in the background, but I kind of became obsessed with it in the past decade.
What do you think was that trigger, that switch that went off that made you say, hey, I really like going to find my stuff outdoors?
Yeah, so I was always into spending a lot of time outdoors. I've always been a birder, and just, spent a lot of time looking up at the trees and listening. And I think foraging and paying attention to plants and looking down offered a different perspective of the forest and allowed me to just like really connect in a deeper, different way, which was exciting to me because I started to learn all the birds and become comfortable with the birds and was like, all right, what's next, So that was the next step in just becoming inspired and wowed by the outdoors in the forest.
That's so fun. I feel like, yeah. What's the gateway? Is foraging a gateway to birding, or is it the other way around? Because I know a lot of people that's kind of a similar story where it's like, yeah, I'm out there for the birds or herping, honestly, like just looking for turtles and lizards and stuff, and then you just kind of start to notice the things around you. And a conversation we actually had earlier today was that, people that spend their time outside doing other things anyway are very fast learners to plants and foraging, because in my opinion it's because we're kind of passively absorbing all those plants and all that information. We're built to kind of remember that and recognize different patterns, and that's all happening kind of submentally, whatever that subconsciously.
Yeah, submentally,
subbrainedly. Yeah, so I think that's really awesome that there's always that kind of flow in between these interests, and then it's always about kind of just like integrating further and further into nature in a more complete way.
Yeah, and I actually feel like it could go both ways between something like birds and mushrooms. But for me, I don't know if you've heard of warbler neck, but warblers are teeny birds that they're way up in the tree canopies, the treetops, and so your neck starts to hurt if you're spending a lot of time looking at them. So it was kind of funny to then get into mushrooms and be like, okay, now I can even out my neck pain by looking up and down.
Nice. That's awesome. So what's your favorite mushroom?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure everybody who asks is like, oh gosh, I don't know.
No, I mean, some people know. Some people know.
Yeah, I know mine.
So, okay, well, I am one of those people that doesn't know, I guess, because I am just forever being inspired by what I'm learning about next. And so, of course, all the edible ones are fun, but I really like the weird, tiny, bizarre ones. And I was just doing field work in Southern Oregon, and there were incense cedar trees there, which I don't have where I live in Oregon. And so, because I'm farther north. And so there were these teeny little orange cups that were fruiting everywhere off of the needle litter. And, it's still kind of wintry here, and there's just these bright orange cups all over the place, and they became my favorite mushroom for the day.
Just like the cutest mushrooms.
But then, I found some morels yesterday, and so then that was my favorite mushroom yesterday. So
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, and that's kind of another common denominator between us foragers too, is that we're very seasonally focused, very in the now, super zen, and it's always about, what did I get today? Well, that's my favorite because it was delicious, and my favorite tomorrow is going to be what I get tomorrow because that's going to be awesome too. So I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, it helps be present, and I might not be as present in other aspects of my life as I am in mushrooms, but it's definitely a good life lesson.
You and me both, sister.
Yeah, definitely. I'll sign that petition for sure.
So, can you remember like the first thing that you ever ate and knew was didn't come from the grocery store or something your parents showed you or anything?
Yeah, it was definitely ramps. So
Ooh.
I had heard a lot about a lot of different things, from college and from growing up, but I never felt super confident in going out myself and eating anything. But ramps was the first thing that I found myself and felt confident eating on my own, because it smells like onions and garlic. So it was kind of a safe, sure bet there. And when I found them, I squealed. I was by myself in the woods, just kind of jumping up and down, doing a happy dance. And that's, I would say, the first memory, at least, that I have.
That's wonderful.
That's a great memory. I freaking love ramps.
So, okay, so let's move on to a little bit about, I guess let's talk about your classes a little bit. So, I see, so do you offer like a little bit of a food experience as well? Is that where I think I've seen some of your spring rolls before?
Yeah, I have done some wild foods cooking classes in the past. They're a little bit more intensive, and so I mostly stick to walking in the woods and teaching people stuff, and we taste test on the way, and I'll do some cooking demos for sure, and give people ideas of how to process and cook and eat these foods that isn't just like blanched nettles or something going a little bit to the next step. But yeah, I mostly have backed away from like the intensive wild foods cooking classes just because I like to go forage for myself sometimes, and that really led to me just always being always foraging for classes and for other people, and I had to kind of ground myself after that.
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
think that's fair.
yeah, no, I'm happy you were able to find that kind of equilibrium in yourself. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I encourage everybody that's out in Oregon to seek out some of Lorelle's classes. Where can they find that on your? Is that like you have a link tree on your Instagram, or do you have your own website?
Yeah, so the link tree on my Instagram is the most up to date. I am in the process of updating my website. I do have a website. It is lorellemorel.com, and in the nearish future, it will be updated. But no matter what the status of my website is, the link tree is always going to be the most up to date.
Awesome. Well, I can assure everybody that you're going to have as much fun taking these classes as we are already having, just with this short conversation.
Yeah, honestly, just cruising
you're so cool.
cruising your Instagram is an absolute treat. Yeah, your content's great. Your
Thank you.
plants are wild, but your content is cultivated. Hey yo.
That's special. I appreciate that.
So let's bring the focus in a little bit on some seaweed. I know that's kind of a very broad term. That's like saying, well, whatever. It's there's tons of different kinds of seaweed and all that. But definitely like to talk a little bit about. You said intertidal foraging as well, right? So that's what you would call it.
Yeah, because seaweed is great, and that's what most people are aware of. But there are other plants and invertebrates. There's all kinds of things to forage that don't fall under the seaweed category. So I like to say sea vegetables or intertidal foraging, so that you can include things like pickleweed and goose tongue, and not limit it to the seaweeds.
Oh, pickleweed. That's one of your most recent pictures, isn't it? With those, they're like little, tiny asparagus stalks or something.
Yeah, people call them sea asparagus and sea beans and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, they're just starting to come up. It's a perennial plant, but it dies back in the winter. So the pickleweed is just coming up right now. So I was getting excited about it and trying to get other people excited about it too.
It looks great. It looks delicious.
It's super good. Yeah, and you can get it off of Forage Market. You can get it shipped to you. I don't know how they package it, but it's really just like this delightful, salty, crunchy snack. So highly recommend.
What's your preferred method of preparation for that?
I prefer eating it raw in like a cold salad form, because I think that preserves the crunchiness of it and the saltiness. People do pickle it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that kind of ruins, you lose some of the ocean brineness, and you lose a bit of the texture, the crunchiness. So if you just kind of drizzle some really good olive oil and lemon juice and chili flake, you can do different renditions of that and make like a kind of like a seaweed salad, but a little bit different, a little saltier, a little crunchier.
It sounds so good.
Yeah, that's it, and it looks really cool too. What do you think when's the best time to harvest it? Is it whenever it's small like this, or not necessarily the best time, but can you harvest this throughout the entire year till it dies back?
Yeah, you can. So it's just coming up now, where it's May 1st now. I would say it's going to be real good, like mid to late May through the early fall. And the cool thing about pickleweed is that it's this really bright, pretty green color, but it will start to turn red as it accumulates a lot of salt, and it's self-killing itself, and that is when it starts to turn bitter. So it's kind of just telling you when you shouldn't harvest it anymore. And if it's still green, it's going to be delicious. And as soon as it starts to turn red, it's too late. Find another patch.
That's so cool.
That's a wonderful piece of advice. Steve.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Well, what's wrong, buddy?
Well, I just got this new water bottle, but it just looks so plain.
Well, have I got the store for you. Introducing the Wild Edible World Podcast Merch Store.
Wowie, wow!
It's the merch store where you can get all of your favorite podcasts merch for all your decorating purposes.
How do I find that?
Go to wildedibleworldpod.shopify.com or go to any of our Instagram and media accounts and view the link in the bio.
Wowie, wow! Sigh.
Well, what's wrong, buddy?
Well, I just realized this mushroom supplement I bought isn't actually made with mushrooms. It's made with something called myceliated grain?
Myceliated grain?
Oh, no!
I'm sorry to tell you, buddy, but myceliated grain is a sure sign of a poor quality mushroom supplement.
Well, dang. I wanted mushrooms, not brown rice. What should I do?
Well, you should support a small batch producer from right here in the Midwest, Keweenaw Apothecary.
Keweenaw Apothecary? Tell me more.
Keweenaw Apothecary specializes in high-quality mushroom extracts from Michigan, and they always use real mushrooms, never myceliated grain.
That sounds like exactly what I've been looking for. Where can I order?
Well, you can find them at keweenawapothecary.etsy.com. That's KEWEENAW apothecary.etsy.com. Be sure to read their many excellent reviews.
Thanks, buddy. I don't want no low-quality mushroom products from a factory. I want Keweenaw Apothecary.
Wowie, wow! Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's some of the other stuff that you foraged most recently in the intertidal zone?
Yeah, so things are just starting to come up. So there's not a ton of vegetables like beach peas and sea rocket will be up maybe in a month or so. But right now it's kind of all about the seaweed. The seaweed season here started in March, and the seaweeds are just starting to get really good. And we just had some super low tides the past, I think it was last weekend, maybe 2 weekends ago, which means that you can go farther out and get a more diversity of seaweed species, because some don't grow, some grow at the subtidal zone, some grow up on the beach. So whenever there's a super low tides, you can get all of them.
That sounds like a fun day to me.
Oh yeah, you gotta wear your waders or expect to just get really wet and cold, but it's super fun.
I think I saw some interesting, they look like, I want to call them cockles, but I know they're like almost like a cross between a clam and a barnacle or something.
Yeah, I wonder. So there's limpets,
that's what it was.
Yeah, limpets are these little invertebrates that they're kind of like snails in a way, and you can just pick them off and eat them raw, but there are some snails that look similar and have weird like brain-eating worms in them and whatnot. So I tend to,
just cook them.
Keep the invertebrate eating to things that I'm like 500% sure about.
Sure.
But limpets are super tasty. I know people eat them raw, like as a ceviche.
Huh.
I mean, I would try it.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Again, it's just one of those things that. So I've got some friends who live on the coast, and I would trust them more than I would trust myself with something like limpets. But there's so much cool stuff to eat on the rocks out there, like the gooseneck barnacles and acorn barnacles, all kinds of weird stuff.
So does all seaweed kind of taste pretty similar, or does it really have quite a huge diversity in flavor?
There is definitely diversity in flavor. I would say that no matter what seaweed you're going to eat, there's going to be a salty ocean brine.
Sure.
Notes of ocean. So for example, dulse is a type of seaweed that if you cook it in a certain way, it can taste like bacon. There are some that are more lemony. There's some, so there are subtle differences, but you're always going to get that salty brine. So.
What does bull kelp taste like?
Bull kelp is really delicious, and I think it's best pickled. So again, it's like a crunchy, salty snack from the sea. So I guess there's some similarity between different species. And I think when you cook it in different methods, that's when it brings out different notes. So I love pickling the stipes and doing a lot of lemon juice and chili. And so then you're getting like a sweet and salty flavor to it, which to me is the best combo. So
I mean, I always see it on
might
shows.
have to mail you guys some.
Yeah, please do that.
Ooh,
Heck yeah. I
yeah.
always see it on shows like Alone or whatever, and the texture of it just looks appealing as heck.
Yeah.
You know?
It is if you get it really fresh.
Yeah.
I've definitely accidentally taken one that was not fresh, and it tasted like socks, like old dirty socks. It was
Ooh.
very awful, but when it's fresh, it's lovely.
Well, luckily we have an expert like you.
Yeah, and you do
You
really
can learn
make.
to find a treat.
Yeah, I trust your perception of quality because I received some cottonwood balm from you a couple of years ago. Last year. I think it was in
Oh yeah.
November or something. Late last year, and tell you what, that stuff smells amazing. It works wonders. You use it for just kind of like surface skin issues, like inflammation or like scrapes or anything like that. You can kind of put it on there. Chapped lips. Sometimes I'll put it on my lips.
Nice.
It's really awesome stuff. So thank you again for sending me that. I have 2 of those jars. She sent me 2, so I got to give you one, Steve. I've been hiding them from you.
Yeah, and so the cottonwood bud collecting season just kind of concluded. So I have probably 2 gallons of buds and oil infusing right now. So there will be many more jars.
Oh wow!
I think I saw that on one of your posts.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other what do you think is the tastiest seaweed or the sea vegetable? Excuse me.
Yeah. So I definitely have favorites there for different uses. So sea lettuce, Ulva is the genus name. There's several species. I think it's the best for beginners trying to get into seaweed because it's just a mild, bright green, really appealing looking and tasting seaweed, and it's up higher towards the beach, so it's easier to harvest. And it's a good one to make like seaweed salad out of. So all of the seaweed out here in the Pacific Northwest is edible, but not all of them are, palatable and delicious.
Sure.
Sea lettuce is one of those ones that you can eat raw and it tastes really good. So highly recommend that one. And there is one called sea sacks, which I think are super fun. They look like, some people call them dead man's fingers, and they're literally just sacks that cling to rocks that are full of water so they don't dry out. And I love cutting them and filling them with cheese, like ricotta, and making like a seaweed mozzarella stick. It's so fun.
Oh shit, that's awesome. I know the seaweed you're talking about.
Yeah,
and
I just saw it on your Instagram. But
during our research.
Yeah.
Doing research.
It's super fun, and like bringing that to a potluck or something would be hilarious.
Yeah,
I think.
I can imagine that for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, then there's another fun one is feather boa kelp, and it literally looks like a feather boa. You could wear it around your neck if you wanted, but it has these little air pods that keep it floating that look like olives, and you can pickle them, and they're kind of like a fun, they snap where they have a different texture, but it's like olives of the sea. So I like the fun stuff.
You are blowing my mind right now.
Seriously.
Sea olives? You don't even have to brine them?
I know. You can just eat them right from the sea.
That's
Pre-brined.
so cool.
I've become obsessed. I'm upset. I already love like olives, salty profile. I'm a sour, salty guy.
Heck yeah.
So the idea that this stuff just comes pre-salted, pre-pickled or whatever.
We gotta get you some sea sacks and some sea olives.
Woo! Gotta get me some sea sack, baby.
Great. Now he's gonna be sea sack obsessed.
My friend just did like a little fake pop-up dinner, and she called them sacks of sea. Trying to be all fancy.
Trying to
about
fancy
it.
him up a little bit. Satchels of
Uh-huh.
the ocean.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't come up with any. I'm not gonna workshop that at all right now. I got nothing good.
We'll leave it there. But yeah, I don't know. There's another one. There's one more that pops into my brain.
Let's do it.
Fucus is the genus, and it's called bladderwrack. There's a few species there.
Oh, I've heard of
And it's
bladderwrack.
got-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's used like in a lot of cosmetics and like body lotions because it's got this gelatinous compound in it that kind of like gooey to the touch, but that gelatinous compound tends to be good for skin, so people put it in soaps and whatnot. But I love it raw and pickled because something happens when you pickle it, and that gelatinous substance gets kind of crunchier and sweet, and it's
What?
weird. And I don't know, like if you eat it raw next to pickled, you would never guess. So bladderwrack, I think, super cool, grows close to the beach, so it's easy to forage, and you can, like I said, make anything from soap to pickles out of it.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Is it green still? I'm imagining like red. Is it a different color?
It is green. It's actually a dark green that kind of like ombres into a lighter green. And yeah, it's part of the green seaweed group.
Okay, cool. There's different colored seaweed group. Like that's actually how they're grouped.
Yeah. So seaweed is super diverse, and it's all marine algae. And there's green. They're kind of broken up into different groups. There's green, red, and brown. And brown is actually in its own kingdom because it's so genetically different. But they're all kind of lumped into this. I don't know. It reminds me of Cortinarius mushrooms, where
Yeah.
it's kind of like a garbage. If we don't know about it, we put it in the Cortinarius. So green, red, and brown are the three groups. Green is the most common. Brown is what all the kelps are in, like bull kelp.
Sure.
And red can actually be brown too. It's kind of confusing, but they try their best to categorize it.
Oh, sure. So it's just about like just the genetic study done on it so far. They're not sure.
Yeah, they're I think figuring it out, just like mushrooms, where they're like, oh wait, brown is actually completely different than green and red, and it shouldn't even be in the same kingdom. So we're just fumbling along still.
Wow, that's gonna take me a minute to absorb.
I'm also super jealous.
You don't even have to absorb it. You can just eat the seaweed and everything's good. It's all edible.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a very good
I like
point.
that perspective.
No.
I feel better
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Okay. All better.
Yeah.
So do you have any inspirations or people that you admire that you'd like to shout out that are on the West Coast?
Yeah, absolutely. Immediately, Alana Kiefer comes to mind. Her Instagram is Shifting Tides Northwest. She is actually the one that did the Sacks of Sea recently, and she teaches seaweed classes. She's extremely knowledgeable about mussel and clam harvesting. She'll eat limpets. She's very good. So if you want to learn, I know enough, but she is like next level. So if you want to learn about seaweeds and foraging on the coast, look her up. She posts lots of good content. And then, so Chef Cameron Dunlap is a chef in Portland at a restaurant called Morcella, and he does amazing things with seaweed. I've eaten some just incredible, I don't even know what they would be called, but just some incredible seaweed dishes that were from seaweed harvested from the Oregon coast. So those are two people that I think are good folks to start with.
Those are awesome recommendations. Thank you so much.
Is Morcella pretty well known?
I think it is now. I think
because I've heard of it, so that
it's been around for a couple years, but it's definitely gaining steam. Like foraging is gaining steam too, and he's doing really cool stuff. So he's doing some cool events that have gained some momentum for sure.
So would you have any events that are coming up in the next in June or July?
So I have a event actually with these two people I just mentioned.
No way.
Kawinky dink.
Yeah. It's May 14th, so it's in a couple weeks. So, you kind of have to already be in Oregon unless you want to hop on a last minute flight. But it's going to be on the Oregon coast, and it's an all-day event where we're doing workshops, and then Chef Cam Dunlap is cooking a 5-course meal out of all the things we foraged from the intertidal, and it's going to just be super epic.
That sounds super
and then,
epic.
Yeah, I will schedule some classes in June, July, but they are not announced yet, so stay tuned.
Sure. Yeah, I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with this season. It seems like it's starting off pretty well for you. Are you having a good time?
Yeah, no, this has been a great season. It's, I think a lot of places in the country, the spring or the winter dragged on, and now we're finally getting into the warmer spring weather, and it's super exciting.
Just getting slingshotted out of my seasonal depression.
Yes, exactly. One day of sun does wonders.
Oh, man. You're telling me. Well, here's to many, many more days in the sun, and hopefully in the future, we can have some days in the sun together and eat all sorts of nibbles together.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
I'm glad you think so. Thanks for spending your time with us, Lorelle. It has been an absolute pleasure. I just want to remind everybody that they can follow you and find you online at Lorelle Morel. That's LORELLEMOREL. And that's where you're going to be posting your classes. That's where you're going to be posting your events. That's where you post your freaking awesome photography and really fun videos of all the foraging in the surf. And thanks for being very open with your education. Your story highlights are last year whenever you were doing Forest Friday was some of the best education I have received on trees. Like ever.
Oh, I love that.
So it really helped affirm a lot of that stuff in the Pinus with the pine trees and all these different trees you went through last year. So I really appreciate that, and I don't think I ever told you that. So thank you, and thank you for all the work that you continue to do as well. You kick ass.
And it was a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I appreciate this. Thanks for having me on here.
Of course. Is there anything else you would like to add as a finishing note, or are you good?
I think, just eat more seaweed and the world would be a better place.
We're going to work on it.
You heard it here,
Yeah,
folks.
we're going to work on it.
All right, we look forward to talking to you again sometime, Lorelle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.